All right, today we're going to talk about rescanning your TV. Now, as of August 3rd of 2019, there has been a repack of channels. So some of your local channels may have been affected, so which means you need to do a rescan of your TV. You may receive your antenna with like one of these flat antennas or one of these old rabbit ears, which still work. I find this and this, actually, sometimes you can get same results with an old pair of rabbit ears as one of these. It all depends on what frequency you're trying to receive.
Now, some TVs, like this one here, the Samsung, it's an older model. It has a, you can see it here, an antenna and a cable input. So you just gotta read carefully, and if you see antenna input, you want it where it says antenna. That's where you want to plug your antenna That's where you want to plug your antenna connection.
All right, first thing when you want to do a rescan is get the remote that you're gonna that came with your TV. That's your best bet. Now you can go to the back of your TV and go into the settings and do a scan that way. It's tricky and takes a lot of patience. So if you have your remote control, it's a lot more easier to do that. So I'll show you how to do that now. I currently have it set to HDMI on my Samsung TV. So let's just take a look here. So it's not going to allow, so some people might say, well, I don't have the option to scan. So on this TV, it actually blocks your option to scan. So what you need to do is you need to take it off of your HDMI device that you might have connected to your TV and try to get it on. So find your source button. This remote, it's right here. And it'll take you to the over-the-air channel. You can see some channel 7 and channel 9.1 and CKWS, which is my local Kingston channel, showing some news report right now. And that's what's good about local broadcast TV, is you get your local news reports for your local area. So I really enjoy this. Like probably about over 90% of the time I'm watching over-the-air TV, it's for the local programming. So I'm going to go to it now. Now that it's set to the tuner, it'll allow me to scan. So sometimes it'll ask you two options here. It'll ask you either cable or ask air. So with an antenna, you want to make sure that your setting is set to air. So you go there, and then usually it's just simple as going to auto program. You go to auto program, and this TV is going to ask you three options. It's going to ask you start just air, start cable, start air and cable. I'm not scanning cable up to this TV, so I just want to scan my air channels. So it's going to start that. Now this TV, for whatever reason, it starts scanning from a higher up channel. So it does this. It takes 10 to 15 minutes to rescan, to go through all the channels. So sometimes you just need to add your channels, like this one, to go to 11-1. On some TV sets, this will program in a channel that's not coming in very good.
Okay, so what you're going to want to do is find the RF connection. Let's have like one of these screw-on ones, and make sure that's connected to your antenna, whatever wire you're using. You want to make sure that's connected so that you have your connection.
So I have my TV on here, and it says WPBS. So I haven't done a rescan on this TV, so that means it's going to give you this reading that says no signal.
Alright, so sometimes you might lose your remote. So if you need to set up your TV without a remote, you'll have your buttons here. Now it's hard to see here, but you got your power, your source, your menu, your volume down, volume up, and your channels up and down buttons. Go to the menu button, which will be the third one up on this TV. Enter button is actually the volume plus button, the volume up button. And you have to use your channel buttons to select your menus and your volume up button to select. And if you hit menu again, it just backs you out of the menu, which is really annoying.
I'll show you this again from the top. So I have it set to my HDMI input settings. So that's probably where the first thing you want to do is go to your source and use the channel select button to go to TV, and then use the volume up button to select. And that'll take me to the over-the-air settings. All right, now when you're going to turn your TV, the power button's at the bottom here, and the top buttons are channel up and down, and the volume buttons are underneath that, up and down volume. And what I found is you have to, at one point, you have to click the source button to get your scan to go. So here, I'll try to demonstrate it here. So I go to menu. All right, I want the volume select to move these things around, like the channel select is where I want to go. You want to make sure that your scan is set to air, not cable, because that will be another thing that will cause a lot of people problems when they're trying to scan in because they have it set to cable. So make sure you got it set to air. So I select auto scan because I want to scan all my channels in. Are you sure? Yes. So to do that, it's the volume buttons to switch it over to a yes. And then what I found out at this point, you have to hit the source button to begin the scan. So it's no longer channel volume up is your select button, but it's now the source button on this RCA TV. Why RCA did that, I don't know. So as you can see, there's my channel scanning in. I got one analog channel, and I got, so it's just going through all the digital VHF channels, and it'll start, a lot of the times these TVs will start at your lower end VHF channels and then work your way up to the higher UHF channels.
All right, these dishes here are my free satellite TV dishes. One's actually a Shaw Direct dish that receives the LTSS program, but it will, I think they want to shut that down because they don't want to give free programming to people anymore. So look up, look way up. So that flying saucer above my house, that is my antenna. It is a Antenna Craft 360. I've had it for years up there, and it's worked really well for me. Occasions where I've been able to get channels from as far as Rochester and Syracuse from Kingston, Ontario. So that's pretty good. And for tower, I was able to find this about a 40-foot tower. I had to cut about 5 feet off of it. When we dug it out of the ground, pretty much bent. So I was able to get this though secondhand off of Kijiji. You can also find these things, Craigslist and probably Facebook for sale. People are just, and I got this for free. People, they just wanted me to come and take it. A lot of people will do that as well. They just want you to take this thing off their property. So you can pick one of these up for free, unless you want to buy a brand new one. I painted it brown because it was really weathered and rusted after, I think this one's several decades old. But it works great. And you want to make sure it's properly grounded, which also might help reduce the static electricity for your over-the-air antenna up on the roof, which might create some interference with your reception.
If you are using an indoor antenna or a rabbit ears or one of these indoor antennas, I recommend highly that you get it in your window. You might not want to leave it in the window. This one will just stick to the window. Put it in your window at first to scan it in. Now, if you don't want it in your window, at least for the scanning part, put your antenna in the window, do your scan, and after you've done your scan, you can kind of move your antenna and you'll be able to see the channel that you want to get. And you might have the luck of the channel being able to put it somewhere else in your room to receive your television signals. If you can't, sometimes the best place might be in the window. And of course, if you do have an outdoor antenna, it's always going to beat out the indoor antennas, and especially if you have it on a pole or a mast or a tower, because the higher an antenna is, the better reception you're going to get. All right, and if you are going to use one of these antennas, mind you that they aren't going to perform as well as a rooftop antenna. So, for example, in Kingston, Ontario, I can get one channel with this antenna where I'm located. But with my rooftop antenna, I've scanned in 19 channels. Now, a lot of them are, like, for example, PBS and all the 4 channels. But in Kingston, Ontario, which the town I live in, most people don't even know that you can get TV channels for free with an antenna. Most people think, well, the common thing is people think, I thought they shut that down, is the response I get a lot. So they have shut down some broadcasts in Canada, Ontario. They've shut down, they're wanting to shut down some CTV rebroadcasts. Global has shut down a lot of their repeaters, and that's the repeaters, not in the main broadcast locations like in Toronto Montreal and Vancouver, places like that, mainly they're shutting down their small repeater stations for out in the rural areas. So a lot of rural areas in Canada are no longer able to get a over-the-air reception. So in that case, you can do either one thing. You could subscribe to Bell Shaw Direct to get TV reception, or you can look at the options of free satellite TV, which I've done a whole lot of videos on. You won't get all the premium programming that you will get with a Bell or Shaw, but if you just want some basic PBS and maybe some news channels and just just a little bit of TV, check out my links below for the free satellite TV stuff that will be able to get you lots of free TV programming if you're in a more rural area and you want to be able to receive a few. Might not be the best channels, but you'll get a few channels for something to watch out where you're at. And PBS, for example, is great. I love PBS. So, and you get that with an old Shaw Direct dish. I've been able to pick up the PBS channels on that. So that works on, and I've done a video on that, and I'll put that in the links below. What it would look like if adults acted like toddlers.